This is a slow English story about the tortoise and the hare, but this time, the rabbit wins. Once, in a quiet forest, on a bright morning, a new race was about to begin. Soft sunlight moved between the tall trees. The leaves shone with small drops of morning water. A slow breeze moved over the grass and touched the flowers. Birds sang from high branches, and the forest listened. It was the kind of morning that made every sound feel gentle. One by one, the animals began to wake. The squirrels came down from the trees with tiny steps. The deer lifted their heads and looked toward the open path. The rabbits came out from the bushes, blinking in the light. Near the old oak tree, a wide path waited in the sun. Everyone knew that something special would happen there today. The animals gathered beside the path. Some sat on stones, and some stood near the tall grass. A young fox smiled and whispered that the race would begin soon. An old owl sat on a low branch above the starting line. He had watched many races in his long life. But this morning felt different from the others. Many animals remembered a race from long ago. In that race, the hare had run very fast. He had laughed at the tortoise because the tortoise was slow. Then the hare had stopped to sleep under a shady tree. The tortoise had kept walking, little by little, until he won. The story had stayed in the forest for many seasons. For the hare, it had stayed in his heart, too. Then the hare arrived at the starting line. His ears were tall, and his feet were strong. But his eyes were quieter than before. He did not jump around to show how fast he was. He simply stood near the path and breathed slowly. He remembered the old race, but he did not turn away from the memory. He let it stand beside him like a small shadow. The hare felt a little nervous inside. He was still fast, and everyone knew it. But today, he did not only want to win. He wanted to run with a quiet heart. He wanted to finish the race without pride. He wanted to show that a mistake could become a new beginning. The morning light rested on his back like a gentle hand. After a while, the tortoise came down the path. He moved slowly, as he always did. His shell was dark, green, and brown, like old leaves after rain. His eyes were steady and kind. Some animals smiled when they saw him. The tortoise did not hurry toward the starting line. He came step by step, carrying the same quiet strength. The hare turned toward the tortoise. For a moment, he did not know what to say. Then he lowered his head a little and smiled. He said that he was glad to race with him again. The animals became very quiet when they heard this. The tortoise looked at the hare and smiled back. He said that every race was a chance to move forward. The hare held those words carefully in his heart. The old owl looked at both racers. He lifted one wing toward the forest path. The path ran past the flowers, across the small bridge, and up the gentle hill. After that, it turned beside the stream and came back to the old oak tree. The finish line was marked with 2 smooth stones and a line of yellow leaves. The owl waited until every animal was still. Then he gave a soft call, and the race began. The hare moved like wind over the grass. His feet touched the ground lightly and quickly. But his face stayed peaceful. He did not look back to laugh. He did not call out to the tortoise. He only watched the path in front of him. The morning air moved beside him, cool and fresh. Behind him, the tortoise began his slow journey. One foot moved forward. Then another foot moved forward. The tortoise did not worry about the hare's speed. He listened to the birds and felt the earth under him. He knew his own way of moving. It was not fast, but it was steady. Little by little, he followed the path. The hare reached the flower field before the sunlight grew warm. Red and yellow flowers moved beside him. He breathed in and breathed out. He let his speed be simple. He did not run to prove that he was better. He ran because running was part of who he was. This time, he wanted his gift to be clean and kind. The forest seemed to open before him. The tortoise reached the flower field much later. A butterfly flew near his shell. He watched it for one small moment, then kept going. The path was long, but he did not think about the whole path. He thought about the next step. Then the next step after that. His slow feet pressed softly into the ground. He carried no anger and no hurry. Soon the hare came to the small wooden bridge. Water moved under it with a soft, shining sound. He slowed down just enough to cross safely. Long ago, he might have jumped across and looked back with a proud smile. Today, he crossed with care. On the other side, he touched the ground and kept running. The stream continued behind him, quiet and bright. After the bridge, the hare saw the old shady tree. It stood beside the path, just as it had stood long ago. Its branches were wide and cool. A soft place under the tree waited in the shade. The hare remembered lying there in the old race. He remembered closing his eyes while the tortoise kept moving. For one quiet breath, he slowed his steps. The hare looked at the shady ground. The grass looked soft. The air under the tree looked cool. But the old mistake did not pull him down this time. He nodded to the tree as if greeting an old memory. Then he kept running. His steps became strong again, but his heart stayed quiet. The shade passed behind him like a dream. Far behind, the tortoise came to the small bridge. He placed one foot on the wood. The bridge made a soft sound under his weight. The stream moved below, clear and slow. The tortoise looked at the water and smiled. He did not think about how far ahead the hare might be. He only crossed the bridge carefully. Then he returned to the path on the other side. The animals watched from different places in the forest. The squirrels climbed high to see the path. The deer stood near the stream with calm eyes. A young rabbit whispered that the hare had passed the shady tree. The old owl listened without moving. No one laughed at the tortoise. No one laughed at the hare. The forest seemed to understand that this race was different. The hare climbed the gentle hill. His legs were tired, but not weak. He kept his breath even and steady. At the top of the hill, he saw the old oak tree in the distance. He saw the yellow leaves on the ground. He saw the two smooth stones beside the finish line. A small feeling rose inside him. It was not pride this time. It was quiet hope. The hare ran down the hill. His feet touched the path with light, careful steps. The old oak tree grew closer. The animals turned as he came into view. The hare crossed the line of yellow leaves. He had reached the finish line first. For a moment, the forest was silent. Then the animals cheered softly, like wind moving through branches. The hare stood beside the finish line. He did not jump in the air. He did not shout. He only turned toward the path behind him. The tortoise was still far away. The hare sat down on the grass and waited. Once, waiting had felt like doing nothing. Today, waiting felt like respect. The tortoise kept coming through the forest. His steps were slow. His breath was deep. He passed the old shady tree without stopping for long. He climbed the gentle hill under the warm sun. His legs felt heavy, but his eyes stayed steady. He did not ask the path to become shorter. He simply continued. At last, the tortoise appeared near the old oak tree. The animals grew quiet again. The tortoise came closer to the yellow leaves. The hare stood up slowly. He watched the tortoise take the final steps. When the tortoise crossed the finish line, the animals cheered again. The sound was gentle, but full of care. The tortoise smiled, tired and calm. The hare walked to the tortoise. For a moment, he looked down at the grass. Then he looked at his old racing friend. He thanked the tortoise for racing with him again. He said that the old race had stayed in his heart for a long time. He said the tortoise had helped him understand something important. Speed was a gift, but kindness had to guide it. The tortoise listened with a soft smile. The tortoise said that the hare had run well today. He said this without sadness and without anger. He was slow, but he had finished. The hare was fast, and he had stayed focused. Under the old oak tree, both of them felt quiet. The old story had not disappeared. But now another story stood beside it. It was softer, kinder, and full of evening light. Slowly, the animals began to leave. The squirrels ran back to the trees. The deer walked toward the cool shade. The old owl closed his eyes for a moment. The path rested after the race. The yellow leaves at the finish line moved gently in the breeze. Nothing loud was needed now. The forest had seen enough. The hare and the tortoise began to walk home together. The hare walked more slowly than usual. The tortoise walked at his own steady pace. They followed the path past the flowers and the stream. They passed the small bridge and the old shady tree. This time, the tree felt peaceful, not heavy. The hare did not need to run ahead. The tortoise did not need to hurry behind. By the time they reached the edge of the forest, the evening had come. Soft golden light lay across the grass. The birds sang more quietly now. The sky above the trees turned pale orange. The hare and the tortoise walked side by side. Their shadows moved together on the path. And behind them, the forest grew still in the gentle evening light.